Have you ever heard a story so shocking that it feels like a movie? This one is real. A father, a family left in mourning, and a dark secret buried for years. What would drive a man to fake his own death and leave his loved ones behind? And what happens when the truth finally comes to light? This is the true story of a man who vanished, and the incredible twist that tore his family apart. It all began in 1994. Tom Walters, a seemingly ordinary father of 3, kissed his kids goodbye before heading out for a short business trip. He promised to be back by the weekend, but that weekend came and went, and Tom never returned. Days turned into weeks. The police launched a search. His car was found abandoned near a cliffside. A suicide note was discovered inside. Authorities declared him dead. His wife, Mary, was shattered. Left alone to raise their children, she grieved, not just for her husband, but for the life they had planned together. The years passed. Mary tried her best to move on. She worked 2 jobs, put the kids through school, and built a new life from the ashes of the old one. But something never felt right. There were no eyewitnesses to Tom's disappearance. No body was ever found. And in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered, "What if? What if Tom was still out there?" Nearly 10 years later, a strange thing happened. Mary's oldest son, Daniel, now in college, was browsing social media when he saw a familiar face in the background of a friend's photo. It was grainy, but that smile, that posture, it looked exactly like his dad. He brushed it off. But a few weeks later, another classmate mentioned a man named Tom Williams, who ran a small convenience store in a distant town. Out of curiosity, Daniel searched for the name, and what he found chilled him to the bone. The man looked identical to the father he lost a decade ago. Daniel couldn't ignore it any longer. He drove 6 hours to the small town of Millbridge. There, tucked on a quiet street, was a little corner store, and behind the counter stood Tom. His hair was grayer, and he had a beard, but the face was unmistakable. Heart pounding, Daniel walked up and asked, "Do you remember me?" The man froze. Seconds passed. Then quietly, Tom said, "Daniel?" It was him. Alive, and living under a new identity for the past 10 years. In a tense and emotional conversation, the truth finally came out. Tom confessed that he had faked his death, crushed by debt, overwhelmed by the pressures of fatherhood, and ashamed of poor business decisions. He had planned his disappearance for months. He believed his family would be better off without him. He left the note, staged the scene, and started over in another state. But he watched from afar. He never stopped caring, but he didn't have the courage to come back. He remarried, started a new life, and carried the guilt with him every day. Daniel returned home and told his mother. The revelation shattered her. Betrayal, relief, anger, heartbreak. She felt it all at once. The younger kids struggled to understand. Eventually, they confronted Tom as a family, but forgiveness didn't come easy. Some ties were mended, others stayed broken. And Tom? He now lives with the consequences of the lie that unraveled the lives of those who loved him most. A story of loss, of deception, and of a truth that refused to stay buried. Sometimes, the past doesn't stay in the past. And sometimes, the people we trust the most have the darkest secrets. Would you forgive someone who disappeared from your life, only to resurface years later? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable true stories.